Hello everyone. Back again with film recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the thriller suspense films from 2022, titled Staring at Strangers. Before we get to the storyline, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and great day. Without further ado, let's get straight to the storyline. The movie opens in a show premiere as we are introduced to our protagonist, a senior carpenter named Damien. He is here to narrate a bizarre story about his twisted life, hosted by a journalist named Sergio. As everyone settles for the stream, the scene cuts to the story's genesis, with Damien driving to work as usual. He's interrupted by a turning truck picking up a wardrobe from a store, and he spots the closet's owner, a beautiful lady named Lucia. He then proceeds to work as planned, but is surprised when his boss immediately calls him in. To his utter shock, they unexpectedly fire him on the spot after his 20 years service at the firm. This doesn't sit well with him and he angrily breaks things. Seeing his reaction, his boss attempts to get him back unsuccessfully as he runs off into the streets. With his boss in hot pursuit, he quickly jumps in the back of the truck he spotted earlier, and seeks a hideout in Lucia's wardrobe. The trick works, but also leaves him trapped inside, as the movers get ready to transport the wardrobe to Lucia's residence. Arriving at the house, the delivery guys who are lifting the closet upstairs complain a bit about its weight. They don't know that there's an extra piece inside. Lucia asks them to place it in front of a built-in closet in their bedroom, before escorting them out. Damien seizes the chance to step out, but quickly slides under the bed as Lucia comes back up. She opens the closet to check it out while Damien quietly watches from his hideout. Shortly afterwards, Lucia's husband named Feta gets home and joins her upstairs. Damien notices something amiss as Lucia fights hard to defend her decision on the wardrobe. It's revealed that it was originally owned by Lucia's grandpa years back, and she has now repossessed it. She holds it dearly as it carries along memories dating back to her childhood. However, Feta seems to care less about that, and even jokes about it, as their daughter Maria joins them. Later at night, Lucia claims her psychiatrist changed her medication before going to sleep. Damien slowly picks up interest in the family's matters, and soon falls asleep as well. He is awoken by Lucia's movements in the middle of the night as she visits the washroom. However, things get murky as she catches wind of his hideout, and slowly walks towards him. Damien suddenly springs from sleep, as it were a mere dream, and steps out, before heading to the bathroom to take a leak. To avoid raising an alarm, he relieves himself in the vanity instead. He then heads over to Maria's room, and stares at her, before heading downstairs to leave the house. As he opens the door to exit, his eyes land on the beautiful family picture, which for strange reasons changes his mind. He decides to stay, and crawls back to his space. The following morning, the family gets up in a rush, as they prepare to leave while Damien listens. After the family leaves, he comes out of hiding. He then heads over to the fridge, and treats himself to a healthy breakfast, calmly enjoying it in no hurry. However, things get weird when he proceeds to do the dishes, something that would obviously sell him out. This makes the audience burst out laughing at his stupid idea as we cut back to the premiere. However, he goes ahead to defend his action, saying it helped him calm down in the otherwise tense situation. Sergio then inquires about his stay under the bed as the audience grows curious about it. Surprisingly, Damien felt comfortable, as he slowly picked up on the family's interests and details. He developed a special interest in Lucia, whom he felt a deep connection with, as if he had known her all along. Back in the house, he decides to make a makeshift residence for himself in the built-in closet. Since the wardrobe was placed in its way, he removes the back cover of the wardrobe, and creates a passage into the built-in closet. Sometime later, Lucia gets back, prompting him to jump into his new room. As expected, she gets surprised to find the dishes done and everything in order. She immediately calls out for Feta and Maria, thinking one of them came early, but no one answers. Shortly afterwards, Feta gets home, and Lucia inquires about the dishes, but he denies having done so. Since Maria rarely does dishes, Feta concludes that Lucia might have done them and forgotten. It's then revealed that Lucia is suffering from psychological problems, with memory loss being one of the effects. Back to the interview, When asked if anyone would notice his absence and go looking for him, Damien answers otherwise. He reveals he is an orphan child, with only a few acquaintances who care less about him. In the next cut, he goes about his exploration, and gradually feels comfortable with time. He extends his kind gesture by fixing some broken cabinets around the house, and making their beds while the family is gone. On the other hand, Lucia notices the unusual occurrences in the house, but eventually keeps them to herself. At this point, Damien begins to believe his presence was not out of mere coincidence, but that of a greater purpose. One night, Damien, who has lowered his guts, almost blows his cover while moving around. Maria spots him in the wee hours of the night as she goes for a leak, but Damien stands in the dark and hides, leading Maria to believe she was just sleepy. One day, while on a call with her mother, Lucia discloses the unusual occurrences to her. Her mom, on the other hand, asks her to discard her grandfather's old books, which have continuously traumatized her. Upon further digging on the books, Damien comes across a piece of writing with a picture of the then young Lucia and his brother. Back in the premiere, it is revealed that Lucia and his brother, Jorge, were close back then, and played in the same wardrobe, but things turned sour when a young Jorge tragically passed away. This not only left Lucia broken, but also puzzled as mysterious occurrences started happening then. Anything edible placed in the wardrobe kept disappearing, leading her to believe her brother had a hand in it. Her grandpa also added that everything would one day return from the magic wardrobe. Since then, Lucia has always played in the wardrobe, hoping that his brother would one day come out of it. Years later, when she inherited her grandfather's house, she planned to buy back the wardrobe, and coincidentally landed on it. Following the regaining, Lucia enters the wardrobe, and now talks to Jorge, acknowledging his presence, as Damien listens inches away from her. And then Damien taps the closet, leading her to believe Jorge is surely around. With the story getting more personal, Damien cuts it short and refrains from talking about Lucia again. However, Sergio manages to get him back, and the streaming continues. Their new connection makes Damien protective of her, and those around her. One day, his usual routine is abruptly interrupted when Maria gets back earlier than usual to join her boyfriend, Raul. Damien is shocked to learn that the boy is exploiting her by using her to hide his stashes. When they head over to the bedroom, Damien is further agitated to hear Raul forcing her to have intercourse while being filmed, but he can't intervene despite him wanting to, as this would blow his cover. Later on, he overhears Maria crying in her room, following the toxic treatment from Raul. That same night, he secretly takes her phone, and here he becomes enraged upon seeing the video of Maria being filmed. The following morning, Maria notices her missing phone, but her mom pressures her to leave for school early. Later in the day, Raul gets there, and it turns out that Damien had asked him to come through Maria's phone. Damien greets him while disguising himself as her father, and says he's seen the video. He warns him to stay off his daughter, or he'll tell Raul's parents about his activities. At first, Raul takes it lightly, prompting him to use force. And now shaken, Raul gives in, and promises to stay away from her as ordered before leaving. Following this disclosure, the show's producer cuts it short, as no one knew about that scene there before. During the break, Damien is joined by Lucia, who calms his nerves and relieves his troubled soul at the moment. Later on, the story resumes with Lucia continuing living her fantasies courtesy of Damien. She finally accepts that his presence is not his brother's, but perhaps of a ghost lover. She goes ahead to fantasize his appearance and exploit its sexual fantasy. Damien, on the other hand, feels the same way and does the same thing. When questioned about that by Sergio, he gets pretty defensive, but Sergio keeps pushing him to tell the truth of his obsession towards her. In this moment of rage, he immediately asks everyone to leave the set. And then, all of a sudden, the audience mysteriously vanishes. At this point, it becomes evident that all these events might have been playing in his mind all along. His need to keep sharing the story prompts him to call Sergio back with a new request. He asks to speak to his father's favorite journalist, Inaki, in place of him. Just then, Inaki turns up in a moment and continues the interview. However, it doesn't get easier for him, as Inaki continues to dig deeper into the story, wanting to know his take on the situation. Damien reveals that he may have messed things up, as Maria unknowingly confronts her innocent dad for harassing Raul. As their rift grew bigger, Lucia came under pressure, and resorted to taking Maria on a break at her mother's for the weekend to cool the situation. After Lucia and Maria set off for the long weekend, Feta quickly cleans up and takes a bath. Here, things take a twist as Feta briefly brings in his workmate Paula, whom he has been having an affair with. Damien is left speechless as the duo proceed to do the unthinkable in the matrimonial bed. Later on, Feta reveals he met Lucia in a hospital after suffering an allergic reaction from wasp bites. It turns out the two have severe wasp sting allergies. It's also revealed that this is how Lucia's brother died. Hearing this, Paula playfully asks Feta if he ever thought of his wife's demise, and adds she can get some wasps. But Feta dismisses it as a joke. Damien is now convinced his presence had a purpose and it was finally here, to protect Lucia. The following morning after both of them depart, he does research on wasp traps, and immediately gets to work. Using available bottles and bait, he manages to trap some wasps, and he proceeds to immobilize them. He then pours them in the bin, and closes the lid, before scattering food around, and opening the window. This would make anyone believe the food attracted them from outside through the open window. After laying the trap, he heads back to his hideout. Shortly afterward, Feta gets home as planned alongside Paula for a final play, with Lucia set to get back later in the day. 30 seconds later, they are done and Paula prepares to leave, and looks forward to seeing him at work the following day. Feta then gets working to tidy the place and clear evidence from the scene, right when this happens. He opens up the bin and a bunch of disturbed wasps spring from it to attack him. As a result, he suffers several bites enough to cause his allergic reaction as planned. Damien steps out to watch him as he struggles to breathe. He watches without remorse, as Feta finally breathes his last, and passes away. Just then, Lucia's car arrives, prompting him to head back inside. Maria gets in first, and is terrified to find her deceased dad's body and screams for help. Later that day, police arrive at the scene, and we learn that Damien's plan works, as the detectives assume the wasps were attracted by food through the window, and find nothing suspicious. They allow Lucia back into the house after writing a report and settling the matter. Her mom offers to watch Maria for a while as the situation calms, while Lucia chooses to stay by herself. Damien, on the other hand, expresses his satisfaction to Inaki, saying he felt like an invisible protector. He finally ends the interview with Inaki, as he prepares to start his new life with Lucia. That night, he watches Lucia going to bed, and waits for her to fall asleep. He then confidently comes out, and walks to join her in her bed. He lays his hand on her and Lucia opens her eyes. But she doesn't seem startled by the unusual event, and goes on to lay peacefully. And this is where the movie ends. Okay guys, thanks for watching. See you again in the next video.